we're learning more and more about his right-wing friends, close family friends. As we know, just 2 weeks ago, news broke of a very materialistic between Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court justice, and a right-wing billionaire named Harlan Crow. And we have updates, unfortunately, as more of this story pours in. We see this headline here from the Washington Post. Clarence Thomas has for years claimed income from a defunct real estate firm. That's right. Yeah, so he is definitely out there. It seems to be cooking the books. The situation is, over the last 2 decades, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has reported on required financial disclosure forms that his family received rental income totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars from a firm called Ginger Limited Partnership. But that company, a Nebraska real estate firm launched in the 1980s by his wife, Jenny Thomas, and her relatives, has not existed since 2006. That's interesting. And that year, the family real estate company was shut down and a separate firm was created. State incorporation records show the similarly named firm assumed control of the shuttered company's land leasing business, according to property records. But the kicker here is, since that time, however, Thomas has continued to report income from the defunct company between $50,000 and $100,000 annually in recent years. And there's no mention of the newer firm, Ginger Holdings LLC, on the forms. Wow, that is so interesting. I'm just dying to know, where is this money coming from? Because it really seems that there is something going on in terms of Clarence Thomas. And gosh, the last time I checked, Supreme Court justices and generally people filling out these kind of financial forms are supposed to get things right, especially when we know that it's Clarence Thomas who says that if you don't get things right as a defendant in your appeal, well, that's on you. Even if you get a death sentence, shoulder shrugs. So what is exactly happening here? And so let's also jump to the latest from CNN. Clarence Thomas, it figures he's gonna fix this by amending financial disclosure forms to reflect sales of to that GOP mega donor. Yeah, that's right. Because what we did find out last week is that, Harlan Crow, that billionaire, happened to purchase a string of properties owned by none other than Clarence Thomas. Check this out from ProPublica. In 2014, one of Texas billionaire Harlan Crow's companies purchased a string of properties on a quiet residential street in Savannah, Georgia. It wasn't a marquee acquisition for the real estate magnate, just an old single-story home and 2 vacant lots down the road. What made it noteworthy were the people on the other side of the deal. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and his relatives. Well, Thomas never disclosed that sale, and it definitely seems to be a violation of ethics. And as we've now also learned, that property, Harlan Crow went on to restore it and build it up. Later claimed that, it's because he wanted to someday maybe make it a museum of the second Black Supreme Court justice to show where he grew up and lived. But interestingly enough, that Supreme Court justice, Clarence Thomas, his mother still lives there and she doesn't pay rent. So it sounds like it to me that they were using this as a vehicle to funnel money to Clarence Thomas by way of a sale that was probably grossly overpaid for. And then on top of that, to take care of Clarence Thomas's mother, something that Clarence doesn't have to do himself now that Harlan Crow has provided her with an incredible home. And also she doesn't pay rent. Jackson, how does this smell to you?
It smells like butt naked cheap fraud. That's what it smells like. It smells like things that people on the streets do. It smells like things that anyone with access and willingness to commit the crime can do. I mean, it's really not even that sophisticated or complicated. But the thing is that, let's face it, this is beyond unacceptable. Clarence Thomas is one of the most powerful people in the entire nation. He's on a bench that has the final say for any type of case that goes down. If it fails in the Supreme Court, that's it. And Clarence Thomas has been riddled with controversy since before I was born. You know what I'm saying? Like, ever since he's been in the public eye, Clarence Thomas has been riddled in controversy. I didn't even know who his wife was or anything about her until a couple of years ago. And the more you look, the more it seems like he's just kind of chaotic and really never should have been on that seat, thanks to Joe Biden had a lot to do with that, but that's another discussion. Well, not really, but yeah, he's really just messy, an incredibly messy man, and he's weird too.
No, and George Bush wanted to act like he was doing something by nominating a black man to the courts. And the thing is, this man is absolute and utter trash and has been since day one. And finding out that he is abusing his position to essentially give billionaires access to playing a role in how the decisions are made, that's exactly what it reeks of. This is payment for access to power and decisions made by a conservative billionaire who essentially just raises money for other conservatives to suit their agenda. You know what, we're at an issue, or we're at a point now where Clarence Thomas needs to be impeached. I doubt, given the Republican leadership in our Congress, that will happen. But seriously, the integrity of the court has been heading down fast at a steadfast rate, largely since the last administration had nominated Kavanaugh and also Amy Coney Barrett. So it's kind of like, well, what are they gonna do? And what they need to do is send Thomas packing, as far as I'm concerned.